guys, it's Tsitsi, and today I'm here to talk about all of the books that have come into my possession over the previous month. Today I'm here to do for you a September book haul which got out of hand. Generally speaking for me, I try not to buy like a ton of books within a month because I can't read that fast and I like to keep my TBR shelf in check. But it got a little out of hand. As usual, you can see that my TBR shelf over here is kind of a disaster from removing all these books, but I have 13 books to show you that I've either purchased or were given to me or came in subscription boxes and stuff, and I'm just gonna go over all of them in order. So let's get started. The first book that I purchased in September is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. So I'd already read The Color Purple, but I had read it when I read Janelle's copy, and then because I'm using it for my thesis, I wanted my own copy so that I could mark it up, so that I could, use my copy for whatever I needed to use it for my thesis. So I got my own copy. It's really nice. I thought this was going to come in a mass market size like Janelle's is, but it actually came in this much nicer, just like regular paperback size book, which is cool. I will have already talked about The Color Purple in my September wrap-up because I reread it in September. It's fantastic. It's about a black woman named Celie in the South in the early 1900s. It's so good. Celie's such an amazing character. She's also a queer woman, and I'm so glad that I got to reread this. But, I didn't really need my own copy because Janelle has a copy. So we have a copy, but now I have a new one. We'll see what happens with this once I'm done with my thesis. The next book that I purchased, I will have also mentioned in my September wrap-up. It's possible I will have mentioned a few of these in my September wrap-up. But the next one that I'm going to talk about is Nervous Conditions by Tsitsi Dangarembga. So this book was actually purchased for 2 separate classes. I had to read it for Global Feminisms, and I had to read it for a class that's called Gender and Globalization in Contemporary Anglophone Fiction. I got it all. I got the whole name. But we had to read this like the first week of that one class, and then we just had to read it for like the second or third week of this other class. So this has been very useful. Basically, this book follows a girl named Tambu. She lives in Zimbabwe. It's a coming-of-age story about her, I think in like the 60s or 70s, living in Zimbabwe and trying to gain an education, and it's just about her journey. It's a coming-of-age story. I really, really loved this, and so usually at the end of the semester I sell some of my books back, but this is one of the ones I will be keeping, which is great. The next book that I want to talk about is one that was sent to me, and that is Immortal Song by Megan Crewe. So Megan Crewe sent this to me originally as an advanced copy. She so nicely included a note that she signed, telling me this is my advanced copy. I hope I enjoy it. This actually came out on September 13th. I have been horribly behind on reading review copies right now just because of how much work is on me on my senior year. I'm just having a hard time balancing everything, but I'm hopefully going to be reading this very, very soon. So basically this book takes place in Japan. It's heavily inspired by Japanese mythology. The lead character has been raised to believe that she's like the chosen one. She has these specific abilities, and then as she discovers she's actually a human changeling, so her powers were borrowed and she's actually not special at all, and she has to deal with that because she's been raised her whole life being told something very, very different. So this is actually really cool. The reason that I accepted this book and the reason I said I wanted to read it is because it's a flip on the traditional YA chosen one thing, that she actually finds out she was never the chosen one. And so I'm really, really fascinated by that. Megan Crewe has a lot of information also on her website about the amount of research that she did about her time in Japan, and that also really interested me. So I'm very excited to be getting to this one hopefully in October. I'm very, very sorry that I didn't get to it before the release date, but soon. And then I will let you guys know what I think because I'm very excited about this one. So the next book that I got 2 books on one trip to Barnes & Noble. I went to Barnes & Noble at the beginning of September, which is a terrible decision, and it was like September 6th or 7th, around that time. And basically that weekend, like so many books came out. Like so many books came out in one week. And a lot of them were lady love stories. And so I picked up a couple. I tried to pick up more, but I resisted. So the first one that I picked up is Look Both Ways by Alison. This book was actually on my most anticipated releases of the year list, and it came out probably this summer. This one didn't come out in September, but I picked it up anyway because it was on one of my most anticipated, it was one of my most anticipated releases. This book takes place over the summer. I'm not exactly sure how old the protagonists are supposed to be, but the lead character has some sort of apprenticeship that involves getting a roommate. So she gets a roommate and then they sort of start to fall in love. I have heard, actually, this has bisexual rep. I believe the main character is bisexual, and I've heard that it is not as lady oriented as I had originally been led to believe, but it's still, bisexual representation, and so that is what I'm going into this expecting. I'm very excited. The reason I originally picked this up is obviously because I'm a person who moved somewhere and then fell in love with her roommate, so like that was one of the reasons it was on my most anticipated releases list, and now I'm really excited to see what actually goes on in this book. The other book that I picked up over that weekend when everything came out was Georgia Peaches and Other Forbidden Fruit by J. Robin Brown. This hasn't been on my radar for as long as Look Both Ways, but people are talking so highly about this book. Basically, it follows this girl and she lives in the South with her preacher father, and she's very out of the closet. She's very open about her sexuality, but then she moves to a new place, and in the interest of trying to make the transition easier, she goes back into the closet. This is supposed to make everything easier for her family. Her father has just married this new wife, and they're just trying to make the transition easier, and so she's helping with that. And she realizes everyone is treating her a lot differently than they used to, but then, a new girl moves in, she meets her, and clearly she's totally fallen for this girl, and so maybe she can't be in the closet anymore. It's supposed to be completely adorable romance-wise, which is what I want most of my life. I just want lady romances that are super cute and fluffy, like any regular YA hetero romance would be, and this is supposed to do this, but it's also supposed to have a really good discussion on faith because her father is a well-known radio evangelist. But also, can I just talk about how beautiful this book is? Because look at the front with its beautiful colors. In general, the spine is this beautiful yellow, and then I'm not done yet because look at under the cover. Look at this color, and then there's this little heart. I love the design of this book. So the next book that I have was actually given to me by a friend. It's The Mask by Dean Koontz. I have a friend named Robert. He loves to read. We obsess about buying books together, and he just had this laying around, and he asked if I wanted the copy because I like Dean Koontz and I've been trying to read more Dean Koontz, and I was like, yeah, I'll take a free book. What are you talking about? So yeah, this is just Dean Koontz. It seems to be about a child that's found, and she's really sweet, but she has no memory of where she came from, but then, some really weird stuff starts to go down, and she's super creepy. It sounds like my kind of thing. It seems like horror. It's gonna be suspenseful because it's Dean Koontz. So yeah, super into reading this one. The next book that I have here is a chunker, and that is Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. Obviously, I pre-ordered Empire of Storms, and I didn't get the chance to read it in September because I was doing Diversathon. Clearly, I didn't read this during Diversathon. This is not even remotely diverse. But then I was trying to catch up on a lot of other reading, so this got pushed to October. But this is the newest book in the Throne of Glass series, book 5. I'm concerned because I really liked the first 3 books, and then I really did not like Queen of Shadows, so I'm concerned. What's the other weird thing about this book, though, is that it's actually supposed to be thicker than Queen of Shadows. This is a 700-page book, but it did that thing where it has almost Bible-thin pages, and I get that so that the spine is thinner, but also that bothers me. Anyway, that's somewhat irrelevant, but oh, I like the dress that she's wearing on the back of this one. I always like the dress. So we'll see what happens when I read this. But I'm concerned is the main thing. So the next book that I picked up was The Grownup by Gillian Flynn, and this would have been in my September wrap-up. I also used it when I did my Gillian Flynn Spotlight video, if you want to go watch that. Basically, I just talked about everything that Gillian Flynn has ever written, what all of them were about, what my favorite stuff was. Basically, it's a short story, and it's about a haunted house, and that's all I want to tell you because it's a short story. I love the packaging of this book so much more than I liked the actual contents of this book. I think it kind of fell flat for me in terms of actual substance, but it's beautiful in the front. I love the back. And then even underneath, the end pages kind of look like this. It reminds me of the wallpaper in Sherlock, and then it's just kind of black underneath there. But I think that the packaging of this book is absolutely gorgeous, which is why I really wanted a copy, so I'm glad I have it at least. Unfortunately, I wasn't passionate about it, but it's still really pretty. So the next book that I got the next two books both when I did an unboxing video for Cratejoy. One of the boxes that I unboxed was And the Story Begins, and that is a subscription service that just comes with 2 books of a genre of your choice. And so the first book that came in that box was Skinner by Charlie Huston. I have read Charlie Huston before. He wrote a book called The Mystic Arts of Erasing All Signs of Death, which I think is fantastic and has such a cool voice, which is why I was so excited to receive this. This is a thriller. It's sort of like spy thriller. That's kind of, it's crime fiction besides also being a thriller. That's all I know about it going in. I don't want to know too many of the details because you don't want to going into a thriller. I'm excited. I really like Charlie Huston, and this is a completely gorgeous hardcover. I love how red the spine is. I love these bright, vibrant spines of the books that I got this month, and I love the cover. It's not very exciting underneath, I don't think. I think it's just white. Yeah, it's just white with a little brown imprint on the front. But yeah, excited to have this one. We'll see if I like it as much as I like Charlie Huston's other book that I've read. And then the other book that came in And the Story Begins was this one. It's The Andalucian Friend by Alexander Soderberg. It's also a like crime spy thriller about a nurse. She starts falling in love with this guy, and then it turns out he's the head of a crime family. That's the beginning of the blurb, not the end, but I don't want to read the end. And it excites me for the same reasons that Skinner does. I enjoy thrillers, especially with crime family, like mob family, anything to do with that. I think they're really fun to read, so I'm really excited about this one. But most importantly, this has the softest buttery cover, and I can't stop touching it, besides the fact that it is a gorgeous crimson red. I love the cover art. I love the side. I love everything about the way that this book looks. Oh, even the back is kind of like set up like a dossier or something. I just think that this is one of the most beautiful books, and I can't believe it came in just like a subscription box. I never would have found this book on my own, but now I'm very interested and I cannot wait to read it. The next book that came is actually one that came a while ago, and it just took a while to get to me. Basically, Simon & Schuster, they were super nice and they sent me a surprise book in the mail, but it came right after I left home, so my mom had to ship it to me. And that is a book called Swarm by Scott Westerfeld, Margo Lanagan, and Deborah Biancotti, and it is the second book in the Zeros trilogy. I read Zeros last summer. It was actually the first arc I ever received doing my channel, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And so they were so nice, and they surprised me with an early copy of the sequel. This has come out now. It's out now. I haven't read it yet. I know. I really like the color of this book because the last one had more orange accents instead of blue, which means that the spine of this one is this gorgeous shade of blue that I really love. But yeah, Zeros is about a group of like 6 kids that have some form of superpower, and they kind of come together as an unlikely band of misfits just trying to save the world, which is like one of my favorite tropes of all time. It was highly readable, super enjoyable. I will leave a link to my review if I go back and watch it and decide that early Tsitsi didn't embarrass herself. But I'm going to be reading this one, and I cannot wait to review it because I'm just so excited to see where these characters go. They were such fun characters, and I can't wait to see how they've grown in book 2. So another book that was sent to me by a publisher is I have Shadowshaper, and this is by Danielle Jose Older. This was sent to me by Scholastic, and it's because this is a new paperback release of this book, and they really wanted to make sure people are aware that this book exists. So this book appears to be like paranormal fantasy, sort of, which isn't my go-to genre, but I mean, the lead character is a person of color, it takes place in Brooklyn, and obviously that is something that I want to support more of, so I accepted this book gladly and willingly. I might have already read it by the time I post this video, and hopefully when I read it I will be posting a full review. The lead character is an artist, and there is some sort of scary thing going on in Brooklyn, and she discovers shadow shaping. And according to the back, shadow shaping is a thrilling magic that infuses ancestral spirits into paintings, musics, and stories. But someone's going through and they're killing all the shadow shapers. So I'm excited about this one. I've had my eye on it, at least because of the cover, since it came out last year. So I can't wait to read this and review it. The last book that I have for this haul today is one that I just barely got, and I received it in Bookly Box, which is a subscription box that I unboxed in September, and that is A Scandalous Secret by Jaishri Misra. This is like women's fiction, basically. It's about this perfect couple, and they live in India, and they're just like the ideal. But Neha, the main character, has some sort of secret. When she was really young, she had a baby, and she gave the baby up, and so now that child is looking for her, and it's going to kind of mess with the perfection of their lives. This came in Bookly Box as part of the adult fiction option, because in Bookly Box you can choose from 8 different genres of what book you would like to receive. It's a subscription service, and I will leave the link to the website down below, as well as the website for any other subscription boxes or services that I've mentioned over the course of this video. I think that this book is really beautiful, like color-wise. I love the color scheme. I think that it looks beautiful up on my shelf. It fits very, very nicely in with the blue books that I have, and it's very pretty. That's mainly what I have to say about this one. It's very, very pretty, and I'm curious to see what I think about it when I actually read it. Okay guys, there you go. Those are all of the books that I've received or purchased over the month of September. There they are, there's the stack. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. If you've read any of these books, please let me know what you thought of them down below. People have read Empire of Storms. Please no spoilers, but you have to let me know what you thought of it, because I'm scared. I'm just so scared because it's such a huge book. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!